Literacy, Education, Skills and Growth Overview and Scrutiny Panel. Do we have any apologies?
Not received any apologies for absence.
Okay. Do we have any declarations of interest?
I need to declare effective interest because my spouse is employed as a teacher at a borough school.
Thank you very much. Do we have any participation today?
No, I haven't received any
Okay.
participation requests.
Right, well, this is to discuss and agree the review for the scope that we have for transition review. Does anyone have any questions?
Want me to share it scope?
Yes, please.
Screen. Struggle with my full screen. Hang on, how do I get rid of these ones? Has everyone had a chance to read through the scope?
No, I've not seen this document before. When was it sent?
It was sent out a week ago with the
The
last
only
week.
thing I got was an Excel chart.
Oh, that's the more
Okay.
recent one.
It was sent out with the agenda when it was published. So apologies that you didn't receive that.
I haven't had an agenda either.
Okay, I'll look into that. There's obviously a technical problem.
Yeah, I've received the meeting and the participation data.
Yeah.
But nothing else from you about
Okay.
the panel.
Apologies, I'll look into that and make sure, see why you're not receiving those, because you should be.
Sorry
Yeah.
There is
Strange that I get some but not others.
There is an agenda online if you can get that. I'm sorry that you didn't receive it.
That's okay. I'll have a quick look now.
Just talk a little bit about the reason for the review, Jodie.
Yeah, okay. So basically the reason that we're looking at this is, well, we narrowed it down after having a look at several other ideas, and we wanted to avoid anything that scrutinises the SEND department again. And there seems to be a gap. Basically, when children are leaving school, they don't have access to anybody to help them with their CV or interview skills. And we want to make sure that we have apprenticeships available in the area and that we're engaging with the right people, and we want to make sure that it's being efficient. We are also looking at the data on the Excel sheet that you should have received, and basically after the first year of A-levels, a lot of students are dropping out and switching to apprenticeships. Now, a lot of apprenticeships I know of are out of borough, so we want to try and have a look at why that's happening and see where they can be supported.
Oh, he went to the wrong place.
Jenny!
I went to the pub room.
Oh, no worries. Thank you for joining.
Right. I looked up to see where you were in the end. Yes.
So do we have any questions?
Yes, I want to know, is there any data that tells us exactly how many apprenticeships are within Bracknell and how many are not? You said there's a lot out of borough. So do we have any hard and fast data that tells us that information, or could that be part of what we're doing?
I think that should be part of what we're doing. We don't have that information at the moment. Zoe?
Yeah, I just wanted to, sorry, apologies. I just wanted to check, in terms of the data on the participation sheet, the Excel spreadsheet, just to clarify, there's data there for year 12 and for year 13. My understanding is that that is the cohort for that academic year 23-24. So
Okay.
when you're looking at the year 12 column and the year 13 column, that's two different cohorts of children.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not it still poses a really interesting question in terms of apprenticeships, of why we've got so many more apprenticeships in year 13, in that year 13 cohort, but it's not necessarily dropout rates. I'm not sure. It probably, again, is more about getting under the skin of the data.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask, are there any others or specific issues within transition that you think would be worth looking into?
Question for Zoe.
Sorry, question for Zoe.
I think, I mean, I know you said you didn't want it to be a SEND focused issue. I think as you've set out in the scope, you've got you've got the Elevate team and the SEND team who are both supporting some of those more vulnerable pupils. I think for me, post 16 and in the build up to 16, we'll probably see that the schools and the additional support and the provision is quite good for these young people. I think what I would be interested in knowing a bit more about, were I in your shoes, is what apprenticeship opportunities are available. What does that look like? And at what level? Because I know that there are quite a lot of higher level apprenticeships for post 18, you know, for level 6 apprenticeships, but I'd be really interested to know more about what the marketplace looks like for young people who are leaving. You know, what is that offer? So they might have the best careers advice in the world, but if their opportunities aren't there for them to transition into, you know, I think I might have lost you temporarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Thank you. Do you know any sixth form heads meetings that we might be able to send a person or two to have a listen in and see if there's anything we can get from that?
We used to have a sixth form network that the local authority was involved in, but we don't anymore. And if there is one, then it's not something we know about. But we could ask Liz Cook, who is the head teacher at King's Academy EP, is the head teacher rep who kind of represents the secondary schools in meetings with the local authority. So we could ask her whether a forum like that exists. I could follow that up.
Okay, thank you. Now, I think that if it does branch out to SEND students, I don't think that would be a bad thing. Question from Victoria?
Something that Zoe mentioned made me think about this question. You said about level 6 apprenticeships. What other levels are there? Because especially if we are going to think about SEND, we'll need to know about all the different levels in the area as well. So, I mean, even if maybe not level 1, but I bet there's level 2 ones in the area, all the way up to level 6. It'd be really interesting to know what there is and what the uptake is of different levels, and also how they're actually implemented. Are they putting the level 6 and the level 2s in the same classroom on the college days and things like that? Those sorts of things I've heard potentially happen. So it'd be interesting to see if that's what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Jenny?
Right. I think I brought this transition up at the last meeting long ago, partly because one of my residents in my ward had problems because some fell for schools, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because he hadn't officially been thrown out of school before sixth form, but they'd withdrawn him.
Mm.
He didn't have any SEND
Diagnosis?
pardon.
Didn't have any diagnosis?
No, I don't know at that point. And she was very worried that these children were not being picked up. And she knew one or two other people whose children were the same. Now, she's a fairly assertive lady who actually has since then made quite a lot of contact with council officers, and it's been, she's found a lot more support in things like getting confidence of and some of the other things that are mentioned here. However, we're still not in any formal education. but she is doing some courses online.
Okay. Okay.
Just a point about apprenticeships. He wants to do an apprenticeship as a fitness trainer, and they haven't been able to find anything around here, possibly because he hasn't got many qualifications. They are working with the what's it called? Working with YMCA, and they are being quite helpful too. Okay, it was just a comment really, because it followed on from my last year's thing.
Patrick.
Yeah, the data was really interesting. We went through. I think the thing that jumped out at me immediately was that's obviously covering the post-16 cohorts until they're 18. But there's nothing in here that tells us in terms of that transition. Typically, it looks like 85%, so the large majority of our young people are staying in education until they're 18. What's happening after that? I imagine we have less sources of data at that point, but I think that would be interesting to understand better.
That could be something. Zoe, could you maybe provide that some more?
I can find out if we've got it. Yeah.
Thank you. And Zoe, do you have any feedback from the students that are swapping from A levels to apprenticeships by any chance?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if students are swapping from A levels to apprenticeships. That's what I was saying about the data, is I'm not sure, whether it's just a difference in the cohort or whether I don't know if there's data to support that.
Okay.
But that could be happening, but I don't know.
Do we have anything, sorry, still at you, Zoe, do we have anything like a student satisfaction consultation back from students or anything like that?
In terms of what the whole cohort, I mean, individuals do pupil surveys. I mean, we could do with here. I mean, I don't think so in terms of the whole cohort. Is the answer.
Thank you. Any more questions? Jenny.
Is there any breakdown of data on what the apprenticeships are in? What fields?
Again, I don't have that information, but that's not to say we don't hold it somewhere. But I can find out if we have it.
Also the levels of apprenticeships, because they do come in different levels, I believe. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes, that's right.
So I just wanted to mention that a major study was done on apprenticeships by this particular body about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. So, and it was purely about apprenticeships in the borough, and it will probably have a lot of information there that's relevant in terms of the questions you're asking today. Something's obviously updating, but it sets it out in terms of all the questions that are being asked tonight. So perhaps that should be a first point of call to just review that before moving forward.
Thank you.
Hi, Gertie, can I come in there, please? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Gareth. Go
Yeah.
for it.
So I guess thinking holistically about this, what would be quite good when we're sort of seeking views and input to this is what influences the decisions a young person makes with the pathways they take post 16. Because there's a lot of evidence that a strong element of parental guidance can help, or hinder actually in some cases. So I'd be really interested to know more about the sort of social emotional peer group interactions, because when you talk to head teachers, they will say that particularly in year 11, you do get some youngsters who really struggle quite significantly, and then thinking post 16 on into adulthood. And I wonder if there's a way we can capture how that plays a part, in their sort of ambition and aspiration.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's the voice of the young person ultimately, isn't it? That's what helps define and determine what we do and how we do it.
Okay.
So I just think that's quite important, because if we do that, then we probably will get an idea, what drives some of the decisions. Because I think the big thing that I pick up is, particularly with teenage boys, sometimes the practical approach to life, the practical skills, the things like that lend them well to apprenticeships. And we know that there is still too much of a post-16 cash economy. Go and work for your uncle for a bit of cash, which is great in the short term, but in the longer term does not really help with the career pathway.
Okay, that's a good point.
Can I just add to that as well, Gareth? I would say, apologies. Am I okay? Sorry, I couldn't, my sound's a bit funny. Am I okay? I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Zoe.
Yeah, sorry. Just looking at the reason for your review as well, it says, to also include what it looks like for the most vulnerable in the borough and those with SEND support. And I think when you're talking about the most vulnerable in the borough, what Gareth has just described is particularly pivotal. When we look at some of those pupils who are struggling to engage with school at year 11, and the work of our education welfare team for those some young people who start to drop off on their attendance in year 11 as well. It's because they're moving into that kind of cash economy of working for your uncle, etc. So I think that if you're focusing on those most vulnerable pupils, that's particularly pertinent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zoe. That you put it far more eloquently than I did, but I think it's really important, because it's that sort of 4 or 5% of youngsters where there's the most at risk for the long term.
Do you want to add that in as a point, as one of the objectives in the scope? Yes, that's a good one. So wording could be along the lines of what influences decisions young people make regarding any help regarding post-16 decisions, especially for the most vulnerable, something along those lines.
I think that makes sense. And maybe anybody with school connections could maybe if you do a mini consultation and ask around. Could ask your missus. But I know that Jen, you still governor of Garth.
Oh no, no. I used to be a teacher at Garth.
Oh, I used to be a teacher. Right. Is it Gareth that's a governor of Garth?
No, it's Ryan.
Oh.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I am still a governor at Garth.
Yes.
I'm definitely still a governor at Garth. Yeah.
Good to know. Do we have any more questions?
Does that sound okay, by the way?
Sorry, I pressed.
One sec, if we could just agree this point, what influences the decisions of young people, especially the most vulnerable, regarding not decisions again, their choices post 16? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Everyone okay with that?
I think there's something else when we talk about choices. I think for me it's what helps young people make good choices. Not right and wrong. I don't like right and wrong, but what helps them make good choices about their futures. And I think think that's really important, because what's the right choice for one youngster is a wrong choice for another, and vice versa. But it's those things that influence good choice making in a safe space, in a safe environment would be my take.
There are children whose confidence is so low when they finish school that they're not interested in making choices. I think there is some work going on.
Fair point, Jenny.
But this is the particular young man that I've been involved with, and his mum. He has accessed various things through pointers which have improved his confidence, and he is actually apparently a lot better. At one point, he wouldn't go out.
So are we, Zoe has a hand up again. Yes, Zoe.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that cohort of young people that you're describing, the ones that, you know, don't want to go out, they have that anxiety, their lack of confidence, they are exactly the kind of pupils that the Elevate team would be working directly with. So I think, you know, interviewing Elevate is going to give you a lot of really useful information.
Good point, Zoe.
Okay, look, does anybody else have any questions or comments to add? Would we be happy to vote on the scope? Sorry,
I
yes.
was just going to say, the parents of some of these children who are lost confidence, they don't all know how to apply for help. And some of those children then do slip through.
Yeah.
I think, Jenny, that's a really good point. That's the point I was trying to get to. You know, what's that circle? What's that network? What options are available to young people where maybe that parental support, for no fault of the parents, is not quite as there as for some others. And I think trying to understand that in a, you know, in a sensitive and inclusive way will be really important, because of course we also recognise that a lot of young people go through big changes during their teenage years as well. And I think understanding the mental health and well-being is also quite important too. I think that fits into, you know, a broader range of young people than just the most vulnerable, but I think it has a part to play. And the relative maturity of young people at 16 as well.
Yes.
Victoria's just got a hand.
Victoria, yeah.
Yeah, and so following on from that, the point I wanted to ask about was you've got gaining views of young people as the way to do this, but I think we also need to gain the views of some parents and teachers, or whatever we'd call them, people running apprenticeships, and I don't know, all the different adults around the children and young people. I don't know, don't call them children anymore when they're year 12 and 13.
I suppose students would be the word at that point.
Students,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think we should look at that as well. Would anybody be happy to vote on the scope as it is now?
We want to amend that last bullet point
with the events that Esther
in line with the comments Victoria just made.
Yes, I think Victoria would, if you look under interviewing relevant people from, so we've got further education establishments, which
no
covers
parents anywhere, is there?
No. Where do you want to add in about parents?
Young
views?
people and parents in general? I don't know.
We could also add, you know, relevant people, including parents and guardians,
on that first point.
No, another thing that I picked up from talking to Keith at Garth is it's also interesting to see if there's, you know, sort of some young people, if they've had a fairly difficult transition from primary to secondary school and on to the next stage, just thinking about, you know, if there are any sort of things that we can learn from young people who've been through, you know, tough transitions, maybe move schools through various reasons as well. So, you know, they're not, they maybe don't have identified additional needs, but, you know, they've had a somewhat disruptive journey. Maybe they've come into Bracknell Forest School around about year 9, 10, 11. English is an additional language, all those sort of things like that, you know, to understand, you know, particularly the changing demographic of Bracknell Forest, you know, thinking about Ukrainian youngsters, Hong Kong youngsters, and some from Afghanistan as well. I mean, how that whole thing plays in as well, because that actually could be quite a transition for those young people in our communities.
It's taking it out of the scope of it, isn't it? If we're looking at post 16, that's taking it out of the scope of it. Well, what the estimated timeline is on this?
Yeah, so the report is due to be presented to the Commission in January. So you have quite a short window. I mean, discussed with Jodie, probably only got about 3-4 weeks to gather evidence.
Is that actually going to be practical interviewing people, given time restrictions, people having now coming up to, what is a very busy time of year for many.
Yeah.
But that's why I asked what the time was. You don't want to set it when finally you can't achieve it.
Does anybody have anything else to add?
No.
Jodie, would you want to move it forward to the vote?
I'm happy to move it forward as it is, because I mean, as you say, there's not a huge window. I want to get this done. Oh, I propose. Do I have a seconder?
I think you just need to, only the people in the room can vote. Just
Okay.
need to ask
Everyone okay
who's in
with that?
agreement with this.
So awesome. Thank you.
Is there anything you want to add?
Okay. I declare this meeting closed. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.